consequence. Had they tied their shoe, they would not have fallen. If a child touches a stovetop, they burn themselves. It's a natural consequence. No one has to tell them or say anything else. They've learned. And unfortunately, that's a hard one to learn because that's going to hurt. But again, that's a natural consequence. A logical consequence fits the crime. It's short in duration, it's not imposed out of anger, and it provides the child the opportunity to learn from it. It should not cause harm to the child or the property, but a logical consequence would be something like, you stay out past your curfew, you're not going to go out the next night, or you're going to come in 2 hours early. Now, a logical consequence does not mean that, you're going to, let the child be in harm's way. So you can't do that. But you can say, hey, this is something that, you made a mess, you're going to clean it up. That's a great logical consequence. Here's some pictures of examples with a stove, like I mentioned, a child putting their finger in an electrical socket. All right. Whatever, the child's licking something on their hand, and maybe it's glue, and they're licking it, and they're like, ew, this is gross. That was that was a natural consequence. You shouldn't have licked it, and it wouldn't taste bad. Logical consequence, I make a mess, I draw on the mirror or the glass, I have to clean it up. Or I was watching something I shouldn't have watched on TV, my parents take the TV away. Or maybe I have to clean my room, I didn't clean my room, therefore my parents take it away. All right, positive statements. You've been doing this all semester with the children, but basically this is talking to the children at eye level and telling them what you expect. Instead of saying the words don't, no, you use positive statements. So instead of don't run, we walk in preschool. Don't yell, we use inside voices. The third one, and I don't know why this video doesn't work, it looks like, but this is redirection. So this is when you basically tell the child, get the child interested in something else. So a child's crying, they miss their mom or their dad. Let's go draw a picture. Let's go read a book. All right. Or maybe a child is upset and they're kicking blocks. Or they had a little falling out with another child. You redirect them somewhere else in the room or to something else so that they are away from it and they can redirect their attention now on something different. So this is one that's very easy, especially if children are younger, because they're easily distracted. And this works with our young preschoolers. We just take them over somewhere else. Hey, we're going to go color a picture. We're going to go play Play-Doh. And that way they're redirected. Number 4 is reverse attention. And you will know this one because I do it all the time at snack time. This is when you have a child that's doing something they shouldn't be, or they're not listening. So instead of always focusing on that child that's doing something wrong, you focus on the positive and the child that's doing the right thing. So I would say at the tables, I would say, oh, those children that are sitting quietly, I'm going to give you a sticker for being quiet. And of course, all the kids that get stickers because they're being quiet are all excited. The child that doesn't get the sticker is like, oh, what are they doing? Oh, wait, I got to be quiet so I get a sticker too. And they'll sit there with their hands folded and they'll be quiet and listen because they want the sticker too. Another thing is in circle time. I comment on a child, say, I like the way you're sitting crisscross applesauce. Or I really like, Jessica, the way you're sitting. Or good job, Julie, being quiet. Or Jared, thank you for sitting quietly. All of a sudden, the other children will follow suit and do the same thing because they want me to acknowledge them. And as soon as that happens, you should. If the other children are listening, then you should acknowledge that child that's changing their behavior. Limited choices. This is when you give the children a choice. It gives the child control, but also you're only giving them choices that you have available. So it doesn't set you up for a confrontation. For example, in snack time, if I said, what do you want to drink? They could tell me anything. Soda, juice, milk. But if I say, do you want milk or water? They have a limited choice. It lessens any problems. There's no real issues. It's like, okay, these are your 2 choices. That's what I've got to pick from. I do this with my middle daughter with clothes and getting dressed. We get her clothes out the night before and she's limited choices. Are you wearing leggings or are you wearing jeans? Are you wearing this shirt or that shirt? And the last thing is timeout. And timeout is something that should be used as a last resort. You probably all remember your timeout chair, where you went for timeout, or was it a step? Was it a stool? There might have been some place that you put, or your parents put you in a timeout. The point of a timeout is to put the child there to gain composure. When they've done something wrong, they are isolated, no distractors, so they can't fidget or touch anything. They shouldn't be looking at TV. And basically, it's to kind of let them have a few minutes to think about what they did before they can go back and join the group. Well, that's fine, but there are some rules for this. Pediatricians recommend it's 1 minute per year. So if the child's 4 years old, it's a 4-minute timeout. If the child's 6, it's a 6-minute timeout. They also say that you need to actually have the child understand why they're in timeout, because just putting a child in timeout doesn't always help. And when you say, I want you to sit there and think, well, what are they thinking about? They don't know. So sometimes you have to explain, here's why you're in timeout and what you're doing, what you did wrong, and why I put you here. There are some important things to remember with a timeout. Sometimes if you overuse it, they're in timeout too much and they never get to really learn about what they did wrong. And they never get to engage with the other children to really try to solve their own problem. So sometimes timeout can be overused. The other thing to remember is sometimes parents need a timeout. And sometimes parents just give the child the timeout because they need the timeout. And you might laugh at that, but it's true. I find myself sometimes I'll say to my child, go to your room. And it's really more or less, yes, they did something wrong, but it's more like mommy needs a timeout. So sometimes we have to remember that limit your use with timeouts. If a child's continually in timeout, it's not working, because we want them to be able to learn how to handle the behavior as well, and understand what they were doing wrong and try to actually, use some self-control and deal with it. So those are our guidance techniques and our reasons for misbehavior. I know it was long, but this should help you in your everyday life when you're working with children.